I always thought monsters chased you. That they wanted to be seen, wanted the fear, wanted you running. Every story I'd ever heard made that clear. You hear footsteps behind you. You feel breath on your neck. You know exactly when you're being hunted. That's why it took me too long to understand what was wrong. The moment I slammed the door and locked it, the pursuit stopped. Not because I was safe, but because whatever had been following me had already come inside. The silence wasn't relief. It was intentional. Like a choice being made. I stood there in the dark, my back against the door, listening to my own breathing echo too loudly, realizing I wasn't hiding from something anymore. I was hiding with it. The house didn't feel familiar after that. The rooms stretched in ways they never had before, hallways feeling longer, corners sharper, like the place itself was holding its breath. I whispered into the darkness, not to scare it off, but to convince myself I still existed. The darkness didn't answer, but it reacted. Somewhere close, something matched my breathing perfectly. Not delayed. Not off by a second. Exactly with me. I moved carefully, avoiding lights, knowing instinctively that brightness would betray both of us. The thing in the dark didn't trail behind or move ahead. It stayed where I stayed. When a floorboard creaked, it came from where I just stepped, never anywhere else. That's when it hit me, it wasn't following. It was mirroring. And that terrified me more than teeth ever could. Something else was outside the house. I didn't see it, but I felt it, like pressure before a storm, like the air growing heavy with intent. The moment I sensed it, the presence beside me tensed too. We reacted together. And in that shared reaction, an impossible thought formed. Maybe the thing in the house wasn't my enemy. Maybe it had come inside for the same reason I had. I found a small room with no windows, a forgotten storage space that smelled like dust and old cardboard. I crouched in the corner, pulling my knees in, and the darkness folded tighter beside me, as if something else had chosen that same corner. I waited for panic, for my instincts to scream at me to move, but instead, there was calm. Not comfort. Calm. The kind that comes from not being alone. Time stopped behaving normally. Minutes stretched. Sounds outside passed too close, testing the walls. Every time danger brushed near, the presence beside me sharpened, alert before I even understood why. I couldn't see it, but I felt purpose radiating from it. Focus. Control. Fear, not of me, but for me. I thought about leaving. About running while I still could. The instant the thought formed, the air beside me grew heavy, warning without words. Images pressed into my mind, doors bursting open, shadows moving faster than fear could react. Those thoughts weren't mine. They were lessons. Survival passed quietly from something that had learned it the hard way. So I stayed. In the dark, details became clearer. The space beside me felt cooler, like standing near deep water. When I shifted, it adjusted, always leaving me room. It never touched me. Never crossed that invisible line. That restraint mattered. Whatever it was, it understood boundaries better than most people I'd known. The thing outside circled. Tested. Waited. Every sound tightened my muscles, but the presence beside me never panicked. Its stillness grounded me. I matched my breathing to its silence. Learned how to disappear. We weren't hiding randomly, we were hiding correctly. I wondered how long it had been doing this. How many times it had sheltered someone who never knew it was there. The thought softened my fear into something heavier. Sadder. Maybe monsters aren't born violent. Maybe they're shaped by what they have to survive. A crash hit the house hard enough to shake the walls. I flinched. The presence didn't. Instead, the darkness thickened, swallowing sound itself. The crash moved on. And in that moment, trust settled in me fully. Dangerous trust. Necessary trust. When the threat finally faded, the tension beside me eased. I whispered a thank you into the dark, feeling foolish even as I did it. The air warmed slightly. Not comfort, but acknowledgement. Sleep came in fragments. Each time I drifted, I sensed watchfulness. Nothing reached for me. Nothing hunted me in dreams. That alone felt like proof. Morning light crept under the door eventually, thin and unwelcome. With it came understanding. Daylight meant choices. The presence beside me loosened, preparing to leave. Panic flared before I could stop it. I didn't want to be alone again. I opened the door slowly. The house looked ordinary. Smaller. Harmless. The thing lingered just behind me, unwilling to step into the light. It didn't belong there. I understood then, I was temporary. Shelter, not home. Before it withdrew, something brushed my thoughts. Not words. A reminder. The danger hadn't ended. It had moved on. Survival wasn't over, it had just changed shape. The darkness thinned. The presence dissolved into corners and shadows that no longer felt empty. I stood alone, altered. The house wasn't frightening anymore, but it wasn't safe either. Days passed. Normal life resumed. But I noticed silences others ignored. Pauses in sound that felt wrong. When danger brushed close, shadows gathered just a little thicker. I never saw it again, but I knew it hadn't gone far. I stopped calling it a monster. Guardian felt closer, though still incomplete. Names didn't matter. Understanding did. Not everything in the dark is hunting you. Some things are hiding for the same reason you are. And sometimes, when the world feels unsafe, the safest thing you can do is stay very still and let the darkness protect you.